evening, ladies and gentlemen. You all look amazing this evening, even though we are virtual. I'm Jumi Olabanji, your MC, live here in Washington, D.C. at NBC4 Studios, and we want to welcome you to the 13th annual Red Dress event hosted by the 13 DMV chapters of the Lynch Incorporated. I am a proud member of the Reston, Virginia chapter, one of your host chapters for this evening. Now, this, of course, is our inaugural DMV Lynch virtual Red Dress event. The theme this year literally speaks to my heart and my mind. Heart health and wellness, the COVID-19 wake-up call. Now, we all know this past year, living through this pandemic has been a wake-up call for the entire world. Our health has never been more important. Well, tonight, you do not want to miss any of this program. We have a great evening planned. We've got speakers, a panel, and there are prizes. More importantly, we are all going to leave here recommitting to better total health, to be better inside and outside. So like and share, start a watch party with your friends, and get the word out. Everyone needs to hear what is going to be shared tonight. Now, here to give us an even better read on things is the host of MSNBC's primetime show, The ReidOut. Let's give it up for none other than Joy Reid.
Well, thanks so much, Jumi, and thanks everyone for being here this evening. Welcome to tonight's 13th annual DMV Lynch Red Dress event on National Wear Red Day. Sending you greetings from the Willow Oaks, Maryland chapter of the Lynch, of which I am a member. So greetings. And thank you all for being here tonight. Now, we know this is such an important event because heart health is so important to our communities. Heart disease and stroke disproportionately affect women of color, particularly Black women. And we know that COVID-19 has been a huge wake-up call for our community. So tonight, we're going to get great tips on heart health, on keeping ourselves safe, on improving our lifestyles that can actually make us healthier. You know, we can't do it all, spending all of our time doing for everyone, doing everything. We need to slow down, ladies. We need to take our health seriously because, of course, we're worth it. So tonight, you're going to hear great tips, great information, fabulous information about your health. So hopefully you guys will enjoy it. And it's all sponsored by our fabulous sponsors at Melanin. So we want to thank Melanin for being our principal sponsor on tonight. And hopefully you all will sit back, relax, enjoy, and get healthy and get great information. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. And now I'm going to throw it back to you, Jumi.
Oh, I love that. And as Joy just said, we are thrilled to have Melanin Skincare as the Platinum Plus sponsor tonight. It is all about Melanin Beautiful. Their products are especially made for melanin-rich skin, and they are on a mission to drive equity in skincare health and education as well. And you'll hear much more about that coming up a little bit later. Some of you will also be winning all kinds of incredible Melanin skincare products tonight for joining us, starting with Christina Bennett of Washington, D.C., and Tanya Osborne of Nashville, Tennessee. You can check the live chat going on right now for instructions on how to claim your Melanin Beautiful prizes, and there are more prizes where that came from. Now, speaking of incredible, the Red Dress Planning Committee is totally fired up for heart health. The topics covered during tonight's panel will focus on all aspects of heart health, which is total health. And just like Joy Reid said, we have got to slow down. Some of us are doing just too much. So be good to your heart and your health. Stay put, relax tonight, and take it all in. And don't forget to invite your friends to join our virtual Hearty Party that is going on here right now. All right, so please give a warm welcome to Diane M. Harley, the president of the Arlington, Virginia Lynch chapter, the chair chapter of tonight's Red Dress event, followed by Michelle Bailey, the Red Dress event chair, national PR chair for the Lynch Incorporated, and member of the Arlington, Virginia Lynch chapter.
Greetings. On behalf of the DMV chapters of the Lynch Incorporated, we welcome each of you, our distinguished guests, to our 13th annual Red Dress event, hosted virtually here on Facebook Live. First, I'd like to thank our wonderful MC, Jumi Olabanji, who has been doing yeoman's work and will take us through the evening. We are honored to have you with us as our special guest, and thank you for attending this very informative and worthwhile event. It is our most sincere hope that you will hear something or learn something that might save your life or the life of someone you love. We also thank our generous sponsors, donors, and national partners, for without them, this evening would not be possible. In addition to our corporate sponsors, The Arlington, Virginia chapter of the Lynx is delighted to have 12 Lynx-sponsored chapters from the DMV. I am pleased to introduce my sister chapter presidents. Capital City, DC, Phyllis Cottle Green, Greater Rappahannock, Virginia, Latanya Talley, Loudoun County, Virginia, Amber Talbert, Metropolitan DC, Beverly Fields, Patuxent River, Maryland, Ann Everett, Potomac, Virginia, Jeanette Conrad Ellis, Old Dominion, Virginia, Anita Young, Silver Spring, Maryland, Pamela Young, Reston, Virginia, Regina Milter Rock, Southern Maryland Chain, Maryland, Jacqueline Gray, Washington, D.C., Anita Cook Wells, and our newest chapter, Willow Oak, Maryland, Oretha Bridgewater Sims. With our current health crisis, the Lynx Incorporated on a mission now more than ever to deliver transformational heart health, wellness, and self-care information in the community to change lives for the better. Cardiovascular disease, which includes heart disease, hypertension, and stroke, is the #1 killer of women among the American Heart Association, or according to the American Heart Association. It kills 500,000 American women each year. That figure exceeds the next 7 causes of death combined. So we have to do something. Our panel of experts will provide you with some very vital information that we sincerely hope you will take to heart and help us to spread the word so that we can continue to work together to combat this potentially deadly disease. And now I am delighted to introduce to you our event chair, who's done a wonderful job for our 13th year in a row, Michelle Bailey.
Thanks so much, Diane. It is my heartfelt pleasure to greet all of you on behalf of the amazing Red Dress Planning Committee. And I am honored to once again serve as this year's Red Dress event chair. Jumi said it best. The entire Red Dress Planning Committee and Hip Rockstar Productions have worked tirelessly to bring this virtual experience to life. And it looks incredible. It looks amazing. And I'd like to thank everyone who has served with excellence and led with grace. It has truly been an all hands on deck affair. So please give a warm virtual round of applause to our amazing Red Dress Planning Committee and the production team. And to everyone who is a part of our program tonight, we want to thank you for volunteering your time and your expertise in making this program unforgettable. So please, let's give them a warm round of applause as well. And now at this time, I would like to acknowledge our first-time attendees. We would love to say thank you for saying yes to Red Dress. And if you are the first 3 to say so in our live chat, you are going to win one of those amazing gifts that Joy Reid and our Mistress of Ceremonies, Jumi Alabanji, have been talking about. So hurry, hurry, hurry. Our sponsors, our incredible corporate sponsors, we can't thank you enough for supporting this endeavor. First, our gold sponsor, BlackHealthMatters.com. Thank you. Our platinum sponsors, Inova Heart and Vascular Institute, BlackDoctor.org, and Monarch Magazine. Thank you, thank you. And a very special thank you to our Platinum Plus sponsor, Melanin, which is a skin care brand based in science for our melanin-rich skin. The product line is amazing. I love it. But their purpose in driving equity in the treatment and care and education about our melanin-rich skin is even more powerful. And you're going to hear a lot more about that tonight and how you can be change agents for this exciting groundbreaking advocacy movement. It's all about hashtag Melanin Beautiful. Our media partners have gotten the word out like never before, from radio to television to print. So a shout out to 96.3 WHUR, Good Morning Washington, ABC 7, WUSA 9, Great Day Washington, NBC 4, and Fox 5, along with our friends at the Afro-American newspaper who have supported the Lynch Incorporated from the very beginning. And to our businesses and patrons who have donated all of the amazing gifts and prizes that have been and will be given out throughout the evening, a warm and special heartfelt thank you to you as well. And we encourage you, our viewers, our attendees, to support these businesses that give to the community in such a meaningful way to ensure such engagement throughout our transformational programs. So again, I want to thank all of you for attending tonight. It is wonderful to see all of you virtually in red for this occasion, for this very important initiative for heart health, for total wellness. Dr. Reginald Robinson of the American Heart Association says it's best. It is about total lifestyle change. And you're going to hear all about that tonight. Get your friends out here, share the links, invite them to come to the platform to hear all about this program. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be amazing. And we all are going to commit to total lifestyle changes for our health, which is our wealth, like never before. Enjoy. Now back to you, Jumi.
Thank you, ladies. I like what you said there. Total lifestyle change. I know we all can't wait to hear more about that coming up during our all-important panel. And for our 3 first-time attendee winners, we want to say congratulations to William Dickey of Washington, D.C., Lonica Robertson of Frederick, Maryland, and Larry Adams of Boston, Massachusetts. Congratulations. You 3 will receive signed copies of Joy Reid's New York Times best-selling book, The Man Who Sold America. You can check the live chat right now for instructions on how to claim your Melanin Beautiful prizes. There are also more prizes where that came from. Now to bring us greetings and acknowledgments from the Lynch Incorporated and the Lynch Foundation Incorporated is our very own national president, Kimberly Jeffries Leonard, also from the Arlington, Virginia chapter of the Lynch.
Thank you, Jumi. Good evening. I am honored to join you tonight for this 13th annual DMV Red Dress event. I bring greetings, love, and support from our over 16,000 members in 292 chapters, 41 states, the District of Columbia, the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and the United Kingdom. I want to begin by acknowledging a few of those who I know who worked so very hard to put this event together. First, I'd like to acknowledge my president, the Arlington, Virginia chapter president, Diane Harley. Our National Director of Health and Human Services, Dr. Nicolette Martin. Our National Heart Links Chair and National Heart Walk for Healthy Living Chair, Mary Clark. Our National PR Chair and 13th Annual Red Dress Chair, Michelle Bailey. Her dynamic planning committee. And I'd like to say a special thank you to our Lynch sister, Joy Ann Reid, host of The Readout on MSNBC. Thank you to the 13 chapters in the DMV cluster that sponsored this event. My chapter, the Arlington, Virginia chapter, the Capital City, DC chapter, the Greater Rappahannock, Virginia chapter, the Loudoun County, Virginia chapter, the Metropolitan DC chapter, the Patuxent River, Maryland chapter, the Potomac, Virginia chapter, the Old Dominion, Virginia chapter, the Reston, Virginia chapter, the Silver Spring, Maryland chapter, the Southern Maryland Chain chapter, the Washington, D.C. chapter, and the Willow Oak, Maryland chapter. Thank you, Lynch Sisters, for your support. I'd like to take another moment and recognize some of our very special guests that are here tonight. First, we have with us our past national presidents, our 6th national president, Arlington's own Pauline Adams, and our 13th national president of the Potomac, Virginia chapter, Dr. Gladys Gary Vaughn. We have our Eastern Area Executive Leadership with us in the house tonight. Dr. Lisa Lowry Lomas, our Eastern Area Vice Director and one of our Red Dress panelists. We have Barbara McKeechin Burton, our Eastern Area Secretary. Cynthia Gresham, our Eastern Area Parliamentarian, and Gwendolyn Allen James, our Eastern Area Financial Secretary. We have members from Congress with us tonight, and we're so very pleased to welcome Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, who is a member of the Columbus, Ohio chapter. Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson, who is a member of the Dallas, Texas chapter. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, who is a member of the Houston, Texas chapter. Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, a London member in the Southern area. Congresswoman Val Demings of the Orlando, Florida chapter, and Congresswoman Ayanna Presley of the Boston, Massachusetts chapter. We're so pleased that our Link sister Pam Queen, who is a member of the Maryland General Assembly and the Maryland House of Delegates for District 14 Montgomery County, is with us tonight. And the Honorable Muriel Bowser, Mayor of the District of Columbia. The Honorable Adrienne Jones, our Link sister, who is Speaker of the House for the Maryland General Assembly. We have Sula Antonio with us, who is the Executive Director for the American Heart Association, Greater Washington Region. And our Link sister, Stacy Stewart, who is the CEO of the March of Dimes. Our Link member, Rosie Allen Herring, who is the CEO of the United Way. And our Link member, Joy Gordon, the CEO of Dress for Success. We're pleased that Cornisha McGill Brown, National President of Jack and Jill of America, and our Link member is here. And Lisa Ransom, Chairwoman and CEO of the Augustus Hawkins Foundation, our Link sister, is also here with us tonight. I'd like to take a special moment to thank our panelists, who are really going to tell us about how to address the issues of cardiovascular disease in our community. Dr. Reginald Robinson, Dr. Denise Bruner, our Link member from the Arlington chapter, Midi Bartonelli, Dr. Yolanda Holmes, our Link member from the Arlington chapter, Laisha Thomas, and the official voice of the Links Incorporated, our moderator, Andrea Rohn. Thank you all for the service you have rendered today and every day, touching lives across Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. Your work is truly transforming communities, fulfilling our purpose, and we are so grateful for all that you do. Now, as you can see, millions of us have worn red today, beautifully, I am sure. But far more than a fabulous fashion statement, we want to continue to raise awareness about the high rate, the unacceptably high rate of women stricken with heart disease and stroke. My friends, this is still the #1 killer of women, causing 1 in 3 deaths a year. That is about 1 death per minute. Sadly, this health challenge became all the more acute with the onset of COVID-19. As heart disease is one of the pre-existing conditions that make it easier to contract and die from COVID-19, our efforts to fight heart disease have a new sense of urgency. As our event theme accurately depicts, this has truly been a wake-up call. And now that we're awake and aware, we want to ask ourselves one question. What will we do to improve our own heart health and the heart health of our sisters, our family, and our friends? Cardiovascular health, proper diet, exercise, and medication if you have to take it are options, but we must take action now. We must take care of ourselves first, then reach out to support others. Together, we can reduce heart attacks, stroke, and COVID among women, saving thousands of lives. I want to thank you for this opportunity to be with you tonight and lend my voice to not only the universal chorus calling for cardiovascular awareness, but to the many medical, public health, mental health, self-care, and wellness topics that are important to the Black community. It is time to wake up, and the time is now. Now I have the pleasure of introducing a very special person. We are able to exponentially increase our impact when we work with like-minded corporate and community sponsors. I would like you to join me in welcoming one of our fellow laborers in community transformation, who is no stranger to this event or to the Lynch Incorporated. AC Eggleston Bracey is a transformational beauty executive and is responsible for Unilever's beauty and personal care portfolio in North America, which includes iconic brands like Dove, Suave, and Shea Moisture. She was also the visionary for Melanin Skincare, tonight's Platinum Plus sponsor. Launched in September of 2020, Melanin was born from the unique belief that melanin-rich skin should always be a priority and never an afterthought. Melanin is a brand that doesn't just push product, but pushes for a change in the skincare industry. Melanin is establishing a standardized curriculum for non-medical skincare practitioners to ensure that they are prepared to care for melanin-rich skin. And we are proud that our very own dermatologist, Dr. Yolanda Holmes, a member of the Lynch Incorporated and one of this evening's panelists, is working with Melanin to develop the curriculum contributors. AC is also a driving force behind multiple initiatives to positively impact our communities, including Dove's leadership of the Crown Coalition, creating a respectful and open world for natural hair, the Crown Act, and Shea Moisture's work supporting Black women entrepreneurs. She has also championed the work to care about Black men with the Commit to Care Now initiative by Dove Men Care. She truly puts her money where her mouth is and is an unwavering supporter of what matters most to the Black community. Outside of work, AC founded Cause We Care to support communities most impacted by COVID. And she has been lauded through professional and civic arenas for her trailblazing professional and philanthropic accomplishments. AC's most recent awards include She Runs It 2020 Women of the Year, 2020 Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated North Atlantic Region Leadership Award, an Ad Color Legend Award, and the BET Her Business Maverick Award. AC lives in New York City with her husband and 2 children and has become a friend and dynamic colleague as the Lynch Incorporated has supported the work of the Crown Coalition since 2019. I am so pleased to welcome to the virtual stage AC Eggleston Bracey.
Hello, and thank you so much, Dr. Kimberly Jeffries-Leonard, for that generous introduction, for the opportunity to be here with you this evening. My name is AC Eggleston Bracey, and I'm so proud to be here on behalf of Unilever and our many brands to first say thank you. I cannot say thank you enough. Thank you for joining the Crown Coalition as an early supporter to help us end hair discrimination for Black people. You've now helped pass the Crown Act in 7 states and in the U.S. House of Representatives on our way to federal legislation. And of course, we won't stop until it's passed in all 50 states and the U.S. Senate. Thank you for always saying yes when it comes to fighting for Black women and our health. Thank you for supporting our work to change the narratives about Black men with our Commit to Care Now initiative in partnership with the National Basketball Players Association and the Dove Men Plus Care brand. Thank you for supporting Shea Moisture. It's now almost 30 years old and is relentlessly, tirelessly fighting for Black women and Black entrepreneurs. And thank you for allowing me to be here with you right now to discuss one of the newest brands I have in my portfolio. It's called Melanin Skincare. You can help us drive equity and education as it relates to teaching and training skincare practitioners about how to treat and care for our beautiful melanin-rich skin. This can be done in esthetician, cosmetology, and dermatology schools. There are 180,000 estheticians currently in the U.S., and they typically get sought out first for skincare treatment, actually before dermatologists. Right now, there is simply no standard curriculum on our unique and specific skin needs. Just like you stepped up to help Dove end hair discrimination by signing the petition at thecrownact.com, you can do the same with Melanin Skincare. Melanin Skincare is focused on increasing education in these esthetician, cosmetology, and dermatology schools because it simply does not exist. We can and we must take action right now so that our skin gets the treatment that it deserves. We'd like all of you to please sign the petition at meleebeautiful.com to help demand that schools include this life-saving curriculum for our melanin-rich skin. You can now access the petition from your phone using the QR code on the screen or simply click the meleebeautiful.com link that's in the live chat. Finally, I want to reiterate my heartfelt thanks for the tremendous partnership of you, Dr. Kimberly Jeffries Leonard, and all of you at the Links Incorporated. I truly believe in the power of our sisterhood. It matters. We make a difference. We will make even more of a difference in the future, and I'm grateful for your unwavering support. Once again, please go to meleebeautiful.com. Melee is spelled M-E-L-E, beautiful.com, to sign the petition to change the situation and ensure skincare practitioners, estheticians, cosmetologists, dermatologists know how to treat our skin. I'm grateful for your support and your time, and have an amazing evening.
Thank you, Madam President and AC, for those remarks, and welcome again to all of our special guests in the house tonight. This is truly a star-studded affair, and we have all come together for this great cause and this great event on National Wear Red Day. Now, have you all signed the Malay petition? I know some of you have, and I know you've shared that with your friends and your family. The facts AC shared about the inequities in skincare treatment were news to me as well. We want the petition signatures to be up tremendously after tonight's event, and we know there is true power when we come together, and tonight should be no exception. So let's all sign that petition right now. I'm going to go on my phone. I'm going to sign it as well. Really easy to do. We've also got that link for you going on in the live chat right now. And let's see who was the first one to go ahead and share that link to sign the petition. Okay, it looks like our winner is Jazen Miner of Upper Marlboro, Maryland. Congratulations, you were the first person to mention signing the Malay petition in the chat room, and you will be receiving a Malay Beautiful gift package, which includes a full product line and a tote bag. Congratulations to you. You can check the live chat for instructions on how to claim your prizes. Congratulations. And there's much more where that came from, so stay with us.
My name is Mona Gohara, and I'm a board-certified dermatologist.
I have a lot of patients, primarily skin of color.
I do wish that I could find a product that was good at getting rid of dark spots.
I would really like a toner that can really focus on dark circles.
So the first product that I selected was the dark spot corrector.
So my initial reaction is that
it feels really good on the skin.
It's really important to have representation.
It's not just a line for people of color. It's a line for people of color because we're different, specifically and scientifically.
It's been a long time coming.
Now, as part of Red Dress, each year we designate a community partner for a special presentation made possible by the generosity of our corporate sponsors and our host Lynch chapters. Last year's partner was Dress for Success DC, and for the first time in DMV Link's history, we will be awarding donations to 3 partners across the DMV. Here to make these very brief presentations are Beverly Fields, president of the Metropolitan DC Links chapter, Jacqueline Gray, the president of the Southern Maryland Chain Links chapter, and Anita Young, president of the Old Dominion, Virginia Links chapter.
Thank you, Jumi. Greetings. I am honored to present the 2021 Red Dress District of Columbia Community Partner, Unity Healthcare. As the largest federally qualified health center in the district, Unity provides health and human services throughout a network of over 20 sites, such as freestanding and school-based health centers, homeless sites, and the Department of Corrections. The team of compassionate and multicultural health professionals place Unity values into action every day for over 101,000 patients through 457,000 visits annually. Deeply rooted in the district's neighborhoods for over 35 years, Unity provides primary and specialty health care, as well as wraparound services, regardless of the ability to pay, and even through crises such as the COVID-19 pandemic. On behalf of the Red Dress sponsoring chapters, I am pleased to present a donation to Unity Healthcare in support of their mission of providing quality healthcare services, in particular, those services that benefit women per our red dress theme, heart, health, and wellness, the COVID-19 wake-up call. And now we will hear from Jacqueline Gray, Lynch's president of the Southern Maryland Chain Chapter.
Thank you, Beverly. Good evening, everyone. I am Jacqueline Gray, Lynch's president of the Southern Maryland Chain Chapter. On behalf of the 13 sponsoring chapters of the DMV Lynch's Red Dress event, I am pleased to present a donation to our Red Dress Maryland-based community partner, Open My Heart Foundation. Open My Heart Foundation mission is to eliminate health heart disparities for African American women across the nation, especially those who are uninsured and need cardiac care. For more information about our partner, please visit their website and our e-program book. And now you will hear from Anita Young, Lynch's president of the Old Dominion, Virginia chapter.
Thank you, Jacqueline, and good evening to all. My name is Anita Young, Lynch's president of Old Dominion, Virginia chapter. And on behalf of the 13 sponsoring chapters of the DMV Lynch's Red Dress event, I am pleased to present this check to our Red Dress Virginia community partner, Doorways for Women and Families. The mission of Doorways is to create pathways from homelessness and domestic violence and to empower their clients to achieve safe and stable living. For more information about Doorways, please visit their website and our e-program book. Now back to you, Jumi.
And now it is time for our all-important panel. Tonight's moderator is amazing, award-winning media veteran Andrea Roan, a member of the Metropolitan DC Lynch chapter. Andrea, take it away.
Thank you, Jumi. Always great being with you. And as Jumi said, I'm Andrea Roan, a proud member of the Metropolitan DC chapter of Lynch, and your moderator this evening. Can you feel it? I know I can. The excitement of us all being here as if it were the old days together. And I'm so glad so many of you are here for this important cause, one that truly speaks to my heart. And as we've heard tonight, one that says it's time for us to wake up and take charge of our heart health. But before we get down to business, I've got a few more giveaways to announce. Are you ready? And lucky winners, I do want to remind you to please check the live chat for instructions on how to claim your prize. All right, the first prize I'm awarding tonight is to Pauline Adams from Boston, Massachusetts. Pauline, you were the first person to say yes to this red dress event and register. And our thank you is this fabulous Melanin Beautiful prize package, which includes, get a load of this, Melanin full skincare line for women of color from our Platinum Plus sponsor, Dr. Yolanda Holmes Dermatology Hydrofacial products, Cocotique product friendlies, Prime Beauty eyeshadow palette, Misho Beauty nail lacquer, and Mamacita Miracle Buttercream. Congratulations, Pauline, and thank you for being the first to register for our event this evening. Our next prize goes to Zoe Jackson from Fredericksburg, Maryland. Zoe, you registered the most guests for this evening's event, and you are the winner of this fabulous Hardy prize package, which includes Melanin full skincare line for women of color from our Platinum Plus sponsor, a $25 gift card, social media how-tos with Ramona, one free class, Washington Integrative Health new patient chiropractic session, Prime Beauty Cosmetics, The Grill Restaurant DC, a $100 gift card, for women only gift basket from the Honey Pot, Dr. Alfonso Davidson dental exam cleaning and x-ray worth $200, The Heart of a Panther autograph book by our panelist Latia Howard, and Pretty Feet inserts to wear those high heels comfortably whenever we're able to go out and socially mingle with our friends. And our last prize at this time goes to Kina Abdo Salam from Landover, Maryland. You registered the second most guests for our event tonight, and you are the winner of this fabulous Hardy Prize package, which includes Melanin Full Skincare line for women of color from our Platinum Plus sponsor, a $25 gift card, Dr. Yolanda Holmes Dermatology Glow Bright Facial, Cocatique box of product friendlies, Negril Jamaican Eatery, a $75 value, Healthy Lifestyle Collective with Tasha Wade Fitness Evaluation, 30 minutes with Tasha, DC Dentist New Patient Cleaning worth $150, for women only gift basket from the Honey Pot, The Heart of a Panther book, and Sweet Maynard Cheesecake. And I'm sure it's low calorie and definitely heart healthy. We can only hope. Now, if you thought those gifts were great, stick around because the gift giving gets even better. We'll have that for you later on after our panel discussion. But now we want to get down to business with our amazing panel of experts. But first, we'll hear from Dr. Kelly Epps, representing our platinum sponsor, Inova Heart and Vascular Institute. Dr. Epps is board certified in interventional cardiology, cardiovascular diseases, and internal medicine. She has a special interest in women's cardiovascular health and is currently the medical director of Inova's Women's Cardiovascular Health Center at Inova Heart and Vascular Institute in Falls Church, Virginia. Dr. Epps was a recipient of an American Heart Association Women in Cardiology Trainee Award for Excellence, and she has been recognized as a top doctor by Northern Virginia Magazine and Washingtonian Magazine. She serves on the board of the American Heart Association Greater Washington Region, and she is a proud member of the Potomac, Virginia chapter of the Lynx. Please welcome Dr. Kelly Epps.
Thank you, Andrea. It has been a challenging time since we were last together, challenging for our communities and challenging for hospital team members as a worldwide pandemic continues to impact our lives in ways we could have never imagined. We know that firsthand across all Inova hospitals and facilities, and in particular at the Inova Heart and Vascular Institute, which has played a vital role in caring for the most critically ill COVID-19 patients. But tonight, in welcoming you to this wonderful Red Dress Day event that I have been a part of for over 5 years, I want to take this time to celebrate with you. First, let's recognize all the Lynx who have done an amazing job pulling together this virtual event. Even in a time as difficult as now, we can remain connected in service to our communities. As you know, tonight's focus is on health, and I want to ask for your help in assuring the health of our communities. I want to encourage all of you, as the COVID-19 vaccines are made available, to take advantage of that opportunity. While health systems are currently struggling with getting enough vaccines, as progress is made and availability improves, I want you to help in spreading the word that taking the vaccine will save lives. I also want to focus on the reason behind Red Dress Day, to bring awareness to the prevalence of cardiovascular disease in women. Heart disease remains the #1 killer of women in the United States. Tonight, we'll hear from several speakers who will share their experience and knowledge. My hope is that we can all find some inspiration to take back to our families and communities, to help in combating this deadly disease and to commit to taking the necessary steps in our diet, our exercise habits, and managing our stress to lead healthier lives.
Dr. Epps, thank you very much. And we'll hear more from Dr. Epps as she will be joining our amazing panel. And I'm ready to introduce them, but I ask that you please hold your virtual applause until all have been introduced, and then we'll get right down to the heart of the matter. Back by popular demand, our dear friend, Dr. Reginald Robinson, who specializes in non-invasive cardiology in the Washington, D.C. area with MedStar Cardiology Associates, LLC. His clinical expertise is in cardiology, with a practice focused on lifestyle changes and healthier changes through prevention. Dr. Robinson is president-elect of the American Heart Association Eastern States Board of Directors, covering 33 local boards from Virginia to Maine, including West Virginia. He is a former board president of the American Heart Association Greater Region. He is also with the 100 Black Men and a proud member of the Phi Beta Sigma fraternity. Dr. Yolanda Holmes is a board-certified dermatologist and surgeon who brings expertise in both medical and cosmetic dermatology, especially in the treatment of melanin-rich skin. She is well known throughout the Washington, D.C. area and has been featured in numerous publications, including Essence magazine. Dr. Holmes was recently selected as a curriculum contributor with our Platinum Plus sponsor, Melanin Skincare. She along with other noted skincare experts, will be creating a comprehensive curriculum to ensure non-medical skincare practitioners understand how best to treat our skin of color. And it's quite an impressive and much needed initiative, and we thank Dr. Holmes and Melanin. And I hope, as you have heard, that all of you have signed the petition driving equity in the treatment of our skin that AC discussed earlier. Dr. Holmes is also a faculty member at Howard University and George Washington University, and she is a proud member of the Arlington, Virginia Lynch chapter. You may recognize this familiar face from the Oprah Winfrey Show and Dr. Phil. Dr. Denise E. Bruner is nationally recognized as one of the leading experts in obesity medicine. She is a past president of the American Obesity Association. Dr. Bruner became the first female fellow of the Obesity Medicine Association and was awarded its prestigious award of Master Fellow of the Obesity Medicine Association in 2015. Her practice, Denise E. Bruner and Associates, is based in Arlington, Virginia. She is also a proud member of the Arlington, Virginia chapter of the Lynx. Needy Bartonelli is a cardiac ICU nurse by training and is currently the nursing director of surgical oncology at MedStar Washington Hospital Center. She is also the chair of the District of Columbia Board of Nursing. Needy serves on the National Board of 12 Days of Christmas and was the immediate past president of the DC Metro chapter. This organization raises over $60,000 yearly, providing back-to-school supplies and a Merry Christmas for children in need. Meady is also the principal managing partner of AFIA Wellness Solutions, whose mission is to positively impact health outcomes, improve equity, and health literacy for underserved communities. Meady is a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. Dr. Lisa Lowry Lomas is a 30-year veteran in psychology and is a human relations and development expert. Her mission is to assist individuals in attaining inner peace and true happiness by identifying barriers and limitations, recognizing strengths, and developing skills to reach personal and professional goals. Her successful private practice is global and involves individual, couples, and family counseling. As well as developing and facilitating corporate workshops and seminars, her public speaking engagements are vast and include the World Diversity Leadership Summit in Vienna, Austria. Dr. Lowry Lomas is a proud member of Sigma Gamma Rho sorority, my mother's sorority, and she is the Eastern Area Vice Director of the Lynx Incorporated and a proud member of the Columbia, Maryland Lynx chapter. And we welcome Latia Howard. Her incredible story may be familiar to some of you because it's been featured in the media and on many podcasts. She is a former Prince George's County basketball star and a Nike All-American athlete. But a rare heart condition led to a stroke while being recruited for the WNBA and ended her professional basketball dreams. 2 decades later, she is developing the next generation of basketball greats, coaching girls basketball at Duval High School. Ms. Howard is a heart health advocate with the American Heart Association, and she is also the author of The Heart of a Panther, available on Amazon. And we thank you all. Now, virtual applause, please. They deserve it. What an amazing panel. And we'll start with you, Dr. Robinson. Despite the worldwide concern from COVID, as we've been hearing all night, heart disease remains the leading cause of death globally and the leading cause for women in the United States. 1 woman dies every 80 seconds, but disproportionately affecting Black women, Black Americans, as I said, but especially Black women. Doctor, what do African American women need to know to get and stay heart healthy? Is it merely a lack of awareness?
Well, thank you for having me first, Andrea. I'm pleased to be on anything that you're involved with. Your spirit just makes all of this so easy to do and easy to say yes. But when you think about health issues or chronic conditions, in particular in our communities, we have to look at more than just say where you eat, how you have activities. We look at this large the large portion of it called social determinants of health. So it's not just the way you eat. Zip code can actually determine how someone lives or dies, and looking at overall impact. But in our communities, we have a lot of those things that are playing a role against us. Living conditions, safety issues, equity in schooling. So when the COVID condition just sort of expanded on this and let us see all of the inequities of healthcare overall. So as we look at the leading cause of death, 1 in 3 women, in particular African-American women, will die of a cardiovascular cause. And I think panels like this is important with getting that message out. And we have a lot of experts that'll touch on some of these issues.
Dr. Epps, I want to ask you, is it hard to detect cardiovascular disease in women?
Well,
Dr. Epps.
Okay.
Thank you, Andrea. So cardiovascular disease in women, sometimes it can be harder to detect. And part of the reason may be that symptoms are sometimes under-recognized in women. The most common symptom for heart attack is similar in men and women. Usually that's chest pain, or sometimes rather than pain, patients will describe it more as pressure or chest heaviness or tightness. But women are more likely to have atypical symptoms or more subtle symptoms from heart attack. So I think it's very important to know that. Symptoms like shortness of breath or fatigue. Even some may complain of sleep disturbances, anxiety leading up to a heart attack that often aren't recognized as a potentially serious cardiovascular issue. And so there's certainly under recognition of symptoms, delay in presentation that can also be challenging in women. And we also know some of our cardiac testing, like stress test, may not be as accurate in women as they are in men.
And that hasn't changed. We're still talking about disparity in care based on your gender.
Correct. I think that's why sessions like today are so important, just to increase awareness. We know there's definitely a gap in awareness, particularly in minority women, where in terms of the number of women that actually know heart disease is the number one killer of women is probably less than 30% in minority communities. And only 1 in 5 African-American women actually feel that heart disease is something that could personally affect them or that they're personally at risk for, even though we know it's much higher than that.
We have all of these issues, and now on top of everything, we have COVID. In your practices, how is COVID affecting your patients? Are they still more afraid of getting the virus rather than coming in even in emergency and getting treatment? Dr. Robinson?
There's a program that we are trying to promote called Don't Die of Doubt. And up to 30% of people, there's been a drop in cardiovascular complaints in the emergency room. Over 30% of people not presenting for heart attacks and strokes. And we know that they didn't just go away. And when you talk to some of our patients, they're actually fearful of going into the emergency room because they're more scared of COVID than they are of dying of a heart attack or a stroke. And it's up to us to really let them know that those things are still going on along with COVID. And the safest thing for them to do is go to the emergency room. Be your best advocate, listen to your body. If something's changing, certainly go to the emergency room. It's the safest place for you to go.
How do you tell patients what your facilities are doing to keep them safe, to convince them it's better to go to the hospital than to stay home and just stick it out? Dr. Epps.
Sure. I think it's letting patients know that that being at the hospital is safe. It's the safest place for you to be, particularly if you have a major emergency. Certainly, we have offered telemedicine to our patients as a way to allow them to still interact with their physician and other members of their care team, and also reducing their risk of exposure. We have extended office hours. We have made weekend hours as well to reduce the number of patients who are actually in the waiting room. We screen all of our patients with questions prior to coming to the office, so patients know that all patients are being screened to make sure that they're not at high risk for COVID-19 infection or active infection at the time. And we spread this word to our patients so that they feel more comfortable. But it is true, patients are still hesitant.
COVID changing the way you're going to target your patients going forward? Telemedicine more a part of it rather than expecting them to come in? Whoever wants to take
I
that.
think it's a hybrid. And we've been talking about telemedicine for years, and we've just been kicking the can down the road, and COVID just put it right in our face. And I believe many of the health systems jumped right on top of it so that you can actually get to your patients still. But the conditions like heart attack, stroke, time is of the essence. So you still really need to go to the heart attack if you're having the symptoms of a heart attack and the stroke, which we'll probably touch on some point during this discussion. But some of our patients actually appreciate it. They'll tell you at the end of the visit, thank you for offering the televisit. And there are a lot of things that you can do over the phone. 80% of the diagnosis can come from just talking to someone. And the other 20% comes from either refuting or confirming something that you already thought of with a test.
All right, we've talked about risk factors and symptoms, but how about symptoms that you didn't know had anything to do with your heart? Your skin reveals a lot, and often the dermatologist is the first to notice. And we want to turn to Dr. Yolanda Holmes. You have some slides that you're going to be showing us in a few minutes, but there are some general symptoms, warning signs of heart disease that appear on the skin. What are a few of those?
Lower extremity swelling is one of the common ones that I see in the office, and also scaliness in those areas and itchiness in the areas. Also, we can see changes in the fingernails. They can become pale. They can be bluish discoloration. So there's signs of the skin that lend to a diagnosis of some type of cardiac disease.
Dr. Holmes, you said that most women go to the dermatologist maybe once or twice a year, but they see their cosmetologist maybe once a month. There are signs to the skin that if you have melanin rich skin, deep colors in your skin, that you might not be able to see, obviously. And you've brought along some slides to show us the difference between melanin rich skin and light or white skin. Talk about what we're seeing on the screen right now.
We're seeing two patients that have Kawasaki's disease. And if you can see in Caucasian skin, the lesions look erythematous and well pronounced. But in the person that has melanated skin, you can see very small, fine bumps. You don't see that erythema as often. Some patients will have slight erythema in the very beginning, but many times by the time they reach the practitioner's office, it's not as obvious. In a situation like this, a skin biopsy might be necessary to make the diagnosis.
And how does this affect what's happening with our heart? How is this a sign that our hearts may be in trouble?
Well, Kawasaki's disease affects arteries and vessels. And one of the major vessels in our body is our coronary arteries, which go to our heart. So that can be a real problem.
So you have another slide for us again that shows what happens in melanin-rich skin versus lighter skin. What is this that we're looking at?
These are patients that have dermatomyositis, and eruptions on the eyelid are a sign of this condition. And as you can see in the Caucasian skin, you can see the well-defined erythema, where in the person with brown skin, it is not as obvious. Sometimes erythema in darker skin can look violaceous or just like dark patches, but you really have to investigate. You have to do a good medical history. And maybe, like I say, sometimes you need to do a skin biopsy to make the diagnosis.
And you have one more slide for us, please. This is directly related to COVID.
Yes, and this is purpura on the skin of a patient. As you can see on the Caucasian skin, you have these deeply erythematous macules, but in the person with brown skin, you see just a hyperpigmented plaque. Sometimes they look violaceous or blue. Sometimes they just look like dark spots. So it's important to recognize changes in the skin, changes in swelling, changes in pain. All those things could lead to a cardiac trigger.
It's important to be diagnosed early because we know with all diseases, unfortunately for African Americans, they usually present to the doctor at a later stage, less treatable stage. That's where this curriculum that you're working on with Melanin is coming into play. dealing with equity in melanin-rich skin. Talk more about that and why it is so important for dermatologists, cosmetologists, and estheticians to be schooled in melanin-rich skin.
I think it's important to recognize the differences in our skin and the way things present. And we have some things we are more at risk than other races or other skin groups. So we need to be able to recognize and diagnose them, and we need to let them know if they need to follow up with a healthcare professional. It's very, very important, especially in the cosmetology fields and the aesthetic fields, because sometimes people do present to those places sooner before they go to a doctor's office. So if it's recognized early, it's always more easily treated.
How soon before this curriculum is going to be in place for, as we heard, 180,000 estheticians around the country, let alone dermatologists and cosmetologists?
We're hoping that we'll have it ready in hopefully by the summertime.
And underscore for us the importance for those who are joining us on this virtual Red Dress Day to sign that petition, that equity petition.
We need as many people as possible because it's very important that not only we are aware, but that the whole world is aware of the differences in our skin.
Dr. Holmes, thank you. You know, in 2020, we learned the importance role oral health plays in heart health. A routine cleaning is where your heart, Latia, your journey began. Tell us about what happened to you and how old were you?
Thank you very much. Oral health did play a tremendous part of my life. I was at the University of Pittsburgh playing basketball, and I had all kinds of symptoms that I did not recognize. I did not know what was going on. I just tried to fight through them. I couldn't breathe. I had dots in my eyes. I had fevers, and I was only 20 years old. So I wasn't familiar with any symptoms or signs that were going on with me. But one night I could no longer take it no more. And my mother said, go to the hospital. I went to the hospital and they said, you're going to stay and you're going to have emergency open heart surgery. And I was diagnosed with endocarditis at the age of 20. And endocarditis came from dental work that I had months before I took myself to the hospital, and bacteria got in my bloodstream and an infection grew. So they went in to do surgery and try to replace my mitral valve, but they was able to repair it, which allowed me to play basketball again. And I was so excited to be able to have my senior year back and to possibly be recruited into the WNBA. Mm-hmm. My senior year came. I woke up one morning for workouts and my arm became numb. My leg became numb. I could no longer talk. I was having a major stroke. And of course, no one recognized it at first, but the ambulance driver recognized it. And he got me to the hospital within 3 hours where they were able to administer TPA. And I was able to, over time, over physical therapy, over months of work, to learn how to talk, learn how to walk, and do everything all over again. At the age of 21, this happened to me. So being aware of signs and symptoms is very important.
Latia, go back for a sec. You said the ambulance driver recognized that you were having a stroke and got you there and you were able to get TPA. For people who don't know what that is, what is TPA and what difference does that make in the recovery of a stroke victim?
It's medicine you can get within 3 hours of having a stroke. So instead of us, we didn't know what was going on. So instead of us sitting around trying to figure out if I was just not trying to work out or run that day, luckily we were able to get in touch with a trainer and she called the ambulance. So without the TPA in my system, the reverse of me talking, walking, speaking again could not have happened. So it was very important to do that within 3 hours of having a stroke.
Latia, you talked about some of the symptoms you had, fever and lots of fatigue. Was there any history of cardiovascular disease in your family? Anything that would suggest that even at your young age that you could be a victim of stroke or need emergency heart procedure?
No signs of it, no history of it. I start the history in my family now. No signs and no history of it. Like I said, I was in good health condition. I worked out every day. I played basketball at University of Pittsburgh, was the lead scorer. Everything was going my way. So I would not have guessed, or no one would have guessed anything like that to happen. That's why it was kind of a shock, because, working out, we kind of assumed maybe it was just a pain that I was having or something that was going on. I had a pain in my side, but the pain was from the infection on my valve that broke off into my spleen. Because I had not recognized it in time. It had grew so large. So no, there were no signs prior to that happening that a 20-year-old athlete would have endocarditis, and a 21-year-old athlete would be paralyzed one day from having a stroke.
Wow. How difficult was battling back to where you are today?
It was very difficult. It was very difficult. I went through a lot of depression at that time because, of course, basketball was everything to me. But I fought through, and now I'm able to share my story with I share it with whoever wants to hear. But because I'm a teacher and a basketball coach, I share my story to my students, my players, to bring awareness, because I would not want someone else to have to go through what I went through and not recognize symptoms and signs, and to let everyone know, give 100% while you can. You never know what tomorrow promises you. So that's what I share. My testimony to anybody that wants to hear.
Dr. Robinson?
I just wanted to mention that everyone should hear her example, because there's an acronym called FAST, and she did the most important part of that, FAST, T for time. F, face drooping, A, arm weakness, S, slurred speech, and T, time. Don't wait around. Don't call your primary care physician. Always call 911, because that ambulance driver knew what she was having. And she said 3 hours. That's important. That time interval is important. That's why she's here, to be able to talk to us. It could have been a terrible outcome if she waited, like so many people do. They wait at home and think that it's going to go away. They sleep on it. But T is the most important, is time. You have to call. Don't have anyone drive you. Never have anyone drive you when you're having symptoms of a heart attack or a stroke.
Absolutely. That's very important.
Who's speaking? Is that Dr.
No, that was me, Latia Howard. I was saying that absolutely it's very important, because if we went by what us students knew, I would still be, we would still have been at home within those 3 hours, because I had a headache the day before, I had medicine, it could have been something related to that. But thankfully, the ambulance driver knew exactly what was going on.
Going back to what started this, the routine dental cleaning, doctors, is the condition that Latia developed common? Is it something that you talk to your dentist about beforehand? What should someone know or do for just a routine cleaning?
Kelly?
So for a routine cleaning, most patients don't necessarily have to do anything in particular. I think certainly maintaining good oral health is important overall. Patients who we really want to make sure are aware of their cardiac history, because we know there's certain conditions related to the heart that make you at higher risk for developing what Latia had, endocarditis. And if you are born, and this may be congenital, with an abnormal valve, sometimes you're at higher risk for having bacteria that goes from the mouth into the blood and actually can seed on the valve and grow there and form that infection. So certainly if you have a family history of an abnormal heart valve or a congenital heart disease, that may place you at higher risk, and you may be someone who would recommend prophylactic antibiotics before going to the dentist. Anybody who's had a heart procedure before, has had an artificial valve, usually we recommend those patients be on antibiotics as well to help reduce the risk of infection during routine dental work.
And Latia, going forward for just regular routine dental checks, how do you take charge of your health? What do you say when you go and visit the doctor now?
Well, no doctor will touch me. No dentist will touch me. Antibiotics, and they know who I am. I go to the same dentist all the time. They know who I am, and they asked me one time. I did forget, and they said, "Okay, we'll reschedule your appointment." So, yeah, I take antibiotics every time before I go to the dentist now.
But you're doing well, and you're a good example for fast, as doctor said, and the T being the most important thing. Time was on your side. But we're going to go to Dr. Lisa Lowry Lomas. Latia talked about severe depression, and depression is part of what's happening for people dealing with COVID. We're all at home. We're stuck at home. We can't get out. We have maybe symptoms going. Tell us about the trauma of isolation and how it's adversely affecting our mental and emotional health.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me to the DMV chapters of the Lynch Incorporated. I'm delighted to be here. What I'm finding in my office, even people who never presented symptoms with depression are struggling during this time. We've been home for almost a year, and where some people initially thought, I have a reprieve from life and my busy schedule, I can recharge my battery. Here's a long time. And with the pandemic and the never ending finish line that continues to move, and people cannot seem to anchor themselves and to predict and anticipate when there's an end, it is absolutely contributing to depression, in addition to the feeling of isolation and loneliness, even for my introverts who like to spend time with themselves more than they like to spend time with others. And so it's research has shown, the National Institute of Health and actually the American Heart Association just released a study that showed that your mental health absolutely directly impacts heart health. And so not just as a result of we lack a little motivation, or perhaps we're self-soothing with an extra scoop of ice cream. It's even more than that. When our depression and stress absolutely release hormones that directly contribute to shrinking of arteries, and which, as everyone knows, impacts heart health. So not only are we dealing with the isolation and anxiety and depression as a result of COVID and the ongoing trauma there, but we also have to, as we have this discussion on heart health, consider how it impacts women's health as well. I mean, women's heart health as well.
Are people seeking help? Are they calling you? Because we've talked before about Black people being reluctant to seek counseling because of the stigma surrounding counseling and what it might say about the person.
Yeah, actually, let's silence the stigma today. So the created magical stigma that we as a community have decided to superimpose on mental health needs to stop immediately, because your mental health is as important as your physical health. Without good mental health, you have no good physical health. And so while we're out here trying to run around the block and lifestyle changes, as Dr. Robinson mentioned, we have to start within. We have to start with how we view the world, how we're processing information, boundaries. And so to your question, I have been able to, my practice has increased exponentially, and I'm delighted to see more faces that look like mine, but I'm not seeing enough faces that look like mine. And we need to really take our mental and emotional health as seriously as we take our physical health. Because if we're running and we have all of this energy as a result of the vitamins and lifestyle changes and clean eating, but we're going home and we're crying every day, or we're not able to nurture our relationships, there's a problem.
Meaty's shaking her head. I think we've solved the audio problem. Meaty, can you hear us?
I sure can. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. Wonderful. I know. A little bit of an echo. But let's talk. Tell us your story, being a culture survivor and being forced to stay at home.
So thank you, Andrea, for the question and the opportunity to share tonight. I have a quick personal story, as you indicated. Being an acute care nurse working in a hospital setting and dodging that bullet for the last 10, 11 months, it's been really, really challenging. I took the first dose of the vaccine, and 2 weeks later, I contracted COVID. And I recuperated. On the second day of my quarantine, I entered into a study to receive a blood plasma transfusion. And as I was there, the study nurse was taking my blood pressure, and at the time it was 165 over 112, which is basically stage 2 hypertension. Full disclosure, I am friends with Dr. Reggie Robinson, and so I'm texting him as I'm in the office like, oh my God, what is going on? And the nurse took it 2 or 3 different times. And for those of you that know me personally, I'm an avid runner. I run marathons. I've worked out, and my blood pressure was high. And so I didn't think anything of it. I thought initially, okay, maybe this is just stress. the impact of COVID, being away from my family and quarantining. However, a week and a half later, I decided to check my blood pressure again once I was out of quarantine. And my blood pressure was still in the high 150s over low 100s. And at this point, I took it about 3 times, Andrea, just to make sure this was really me. And I then immediately text Dr. Robinson again, as well as my friend who is my primary care physician, and said something is not right. And even though I knew that I was kind of in the fog of COVID, if you will, I felt a tension on my shoulder and the back of my neck. And obviously I went to Dr. Robinson's office and made a cardiology appointment because I have a family history. I'm an open heart surgery nurse, and I know that particularly I'm of age now, not as young as I used to be, and we have to make sure that we are always caring for ourselves. And sometimes healthcare providers are the worst patients because we try to self-diagnose ourselves. And so I like what Dr. Robinson said earlier about don't die of doubt. So I went to see him, and in his office, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Robinson, I have no problem sharing. I know it's HIPAA, so I'm giving him permission to share. My blood pressure was 140 over my bottom number. My diastolic number, when your heart should be at rest, was still in the low hundreds. And so considering my brother passed away of heart disease, he had an aortic aneurysm, and then considering my own father has a history of hypertension, he felt that it necessary that I might need to be on a little something, a calcium channel blocker, just to make sure, because I was walking around extremely hypertensive for almost 4 weeks. So had I not listened to my body, had I not taken the time to realize something isn't right and check my blood pressure and realize it wasn't just stress and anxiety, and even if it was, it should not be that high, and I made sure that I went to go and be seen. If not, quite frankly, I would have still been walking around basically at a low stroke level with stage 2 hypertension.
What did I tell you?
Oh, and the first thing he did, yes, full disclosure, the very first thing, even before my appointment, which was the next day, was no meats, fruits and vegetables, get rid of all salts and sugars, and make sure everything is colorful, green, leafy vegetables. And so it immediately was that lifestyle change, immediately not just here's some medication and take it, which I knew. And the only reason why he did put me on medication, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Robinson, was because it was so high. And so sometimes, and because it had obviously been persistent for several weeks, and given my family history, I needed a little assistance. And since then, I have been compliant. And those of you who know me, I love to eat. So I've gone to a vegetarian immediately diet for 4 days out the week. I'll text him what I ate for the day, and just to make sure, hey, can I have salmon tonight? He's like, okay, that's fine. And so I did those things. But my message to all of us is that even myself, as an open heart surgery nurse, had to realize, even at my age, I've never had a history of any high blood pressure issues, any cardiovascular issues. But that is my story now. And just like my sister Latia, really wanting to make sure that I need to share that story so people know that there is possibly even signs and symptoms of heart disease that we want to chalk off, particularly as Black women, as, oh, it's just stress, oh, it's just anxiety. But that is not a normal blood pressure of 160 and over 110 as normal. And so we really have to make sure that we are in tune, we listen to our body, we know our family history, and make sure you go and see someone and try not to self-diagnose yourself. All those wonderful herbal medicines are great, but they're still medications, and you still need somebody to guide you through that process.
You know, we've heard about the COVID-19, which is the 19 pounds you put on being in lockdown, being at home, but it's an excuse. Maintaining, though, a healthy weight has been a problem, an issue for Black women. We're more likely to die of cardiovascular disease, with obesity as a major contributing factor. And while it may be time for us to get woke, Doctor, we're still dancing around the issue of overweight and obesity, because I think a lot of us are afraid to be accused of fat shaming. What do we say so that it's well received to our sisters when we know a comorbidity for COVID is obesity?
Well, thank you very much. The best for last right now. But nonetheless, basically what we know, it's about the health risks that go along with obesity. And it's understanding that you want to be metabolically healthy. And it's not a cosmetic issue, as has been done and talked about for so many years. And what we understand more now is that when you have excessive body weight, and let's say we say obesity, if you're 5'5", that translates to about 180 pounds, you have a state of inflammation. Those fat cells are putting out all kinds of inflammatory molecules that affect every organ in your body, that are not only associated with heart disease, with kidney disease, with diabetes, with a myriad of about 250 things that happen with obesity. And the intersection of obesity and COVID is, we know COVID is a disease of inflammation, where this inflammatory cascade happens. So it's a marriage of two very powerful events that cause a complication. So obesity doesn't put you at greater risk of having COVID, but if you get COVID, you have greater complications, greater risk of complications. And an easy thing I tell my patients, I show them a plate, okay? Mm-hmm. And what's so interesting is 40 years ago, the plate was the size of this inner ring. Right now, it's this size. So automatically, we're eating more. Mm-hmm. Unconsciously, we're eating more.
You know, they've even said that the way we design kitchens now with the open concept and the islands allows for larger people to be seated around the islands and our walk-in refrigerators because we're eating more. Can we really prevent this? How many pounds do we need to drop to see some sort of improvement in our blood pressure and our risk for heart disease?
Well, studies and multiple studies show anywhere from a 5 to 10% drop in body weight can provide a difference, can provide an improvement, if not a resolution of symptoms. So it's just an incremental change that can make a tremendous amount of difference. And, you know, when we talk about making changes, all people have to do is just write down what you eat in the day. Mm-hmm. And as Meadie said, what Dr. Robinson told her, get rid of the sugar, get rid of the saturated fats, those cookies, those Cheetos, those nachos. You know, get rid of get rid of those fast foods. But also, what we know contributes to obesity is not just the foods itself. Dr. Lomas hit upon stress. Stress causes a cascade of hormones, of cortisol. Of what happens primarily is you do not sleep well. Okay, and then that causes a hormone, ghrelin. Your stomach goes, ghrelin, to make you hungrier. You know, all of these things play a role in terms of being a synergistic problem that helps to contribute. You know, when we talk about social determinants too, and basically living in a safe place, feeling safe to exercise. That's so important. Having access to food. I did my training at DC General Hospital. There was nothing around, nowhere to eat. You go to the Safeway, the broccoli would be rotten, but the same price as a Safeway in Georgetown. Right. So, you know, those are the things that we observe.
That whole concept of the food desert. And Dr. Lomas, she wanted to add on about the stress and what that does to the body.
And also the need, I mean, we 100% have to have a healthy body weight, period. We have to move our body. We have to eat well. Absolutely 100%. It's easier said than done. I mean, some people really want to do better. And if you're struggling with depression and you're struggling with the impact and the effects of isolation, sometimes it's just more difficult to support that. So I should recommend a person to have a partner, have an accountability partner. Mm-hmm. I also want you to do the best you can. Take one little baby step at a time. And so if your goal is to lose 5 to 10% of your body weight and you've lost 1 to 2%, that's amazing. Then pat yourself on the back and keep going. It's okay to take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, because that's still progress and you're still moving in the right direction. And to beat yourself up about not quite getting where you're trying to go can create a decrease in motivation and negatively impact.
Exactly. Dr. Robinson?
With obesity, you have to really meet people where they are. So when you go into a room with a patient and you start telling them all these things you read in a book, and you really don't know where they live, you don't know their income, you don't know their social environment, and you're telling them all these things you read and you learned, that doesn't work. You really have to meet people where they are. And when we talk to, meaty, most people can do 4 days a week plant-based. You go in and tell someone they need to become a vegetarian, that's the best thing for them, you lost them. That's not going to happen most time. Even though that's the best thing in the world, I'm not a vegetarian. So people where they are and really work with them. And one, don't think about obesity as this thing on an island by itself. Consider it a disease process with multiple spikes coming out of it: diabetes, sleep apnea, joint problems, cardiovascular disease, diabetes. So addressing it as a condition, well, I believe it'll help people really look at it, not this thing that's isolated, and that it has a huge impact when you address it.
Dr. Bruner?
No, I just wanted to also add on that I can say, and I've been doing this for 30, 40 plus years, and I can academically, as Dr. Robinson said, it's hard to say even though I'm only 50, but anyhow, but that, academically, I can say this is the best thing for you. But it truly is about what they want to do. And again, I've worked with so many people because, they say, well, I don't eat, I'm never going to eat a vegetable. Well, you say, you can say, well, gosh, you have to have part of these plants and these vegetables to be healthy. So we try them on just one little thing because probably it wasn't cooked well, any of those things. And again, introduce them to things, incremental changes, because I always stress this is a journey, not a sprint. It's a journey. It's a lifestyle. It's not just one and done.
Meaty?
Continue.
Meaty?
Thank you so much, Andrea. Dr. Bruner just hit on something that I wanted to also add, even in my own story with Dr. Robinson. And I had a conversation today. We had a board meeting with the DC Board of Health. I want to also encourage people, as you reach out to Dr. Bruner or Dr. Epps, Anderson, or Robinson, please also know when to telehealth visit, you might need more. I just wanted to share that as well, because that does not negate. If it's a person who you've never seen, you have a very acute illness, they need to look, touch, see, and feel what is actually happening. And so for me, had I not done that and just did a telehealth visit, possibly in full disclosure, because I know Dr. Robinson and I had that access, and that's what we talk about accessibility. Last year, I had the blessed honor, or the year before last, of doing blood pressure at this very same event. And I shared this story with Dr. Robinson and Michelle Bailey, literally that same night, where I took blood pressure of over 50 or 60 women at the red dress event. And literally probably 80% of the beautiful, intelligent, smart women had blood pressures of 140, over 90 and greater. And I just want to let us sit with that. So those of you that might be watching, I might have taken your blood pressure with some of my other colleagues on behalf of the AHA. And I called Dr. Robinson and I called Michelle that night. I'm like, all these beautiful women at this heart healthy event, and almost everyone that I touched was hypertensive. And so I share my story because I'm hoping and praying, in a few weeks, Dr. Robinson can say, okay, your blood pressure is stable and you may not have to stay on your medication. But I want to encourage all of you to know it's not about a shame. Even if it's a few pounds with the weight loss, it's not shame. We want to be well, we want to live. And we, as Dr. Robinson said, don't die of doubt. And just make sure, even with the telehealth visits, that you do your best and reach out to your physician and trust them to hopefully and help guide you in the right direction so you can live long, a good, healthy life.
With the telehealth visits, one of the things I've been telling my patients, the ones that have seen me before, I would tell them to bring their blood pressure monitor with them. So that if you have hypertension, take your blood pressure monitor with you when you go to your primary doctor's office. So when they check it, you check it right behind them on the same arm. That way, you can rely on your blood pressure monitor. Because many times we go to the doctor's office, we run through DC traffic, someone's plopped you down and checked your blood pressure, and it's 150 over 90, and you're anxious. But always have them to check it at the end of the visit as well, before you leave out of that room, because that could be just that elevated, quote, white coat hypertension. And once you find out that your blood pressure monitor is pretty accurate within 5 points or so, now you can do that televisit follow-up on your blood pressure, checking your blood pressure at home and relaying the numbers to your primary physician.
Are the monitors that fit on your wrist, do you recommend those? Are they good barometers for the accuracy of your blood pressure?
So blood pressure monitors are so key for managing blood pressure and monitoring blood pressure. The ones that are around your wrist, they tend to overestimate your blood pressure. So I think if your blood pressure on those are normal, in the normal range, then I think they're potentially reasonable to use. But I generally tell my patients to get the cuffs that wrap around the upper arm. Those tend to be more accurate in terms of monitoring blood pressure.
All right, I'm looking at our time, and I know our audience is anxious to get in on the conversation because we're getting lots of questions. And the first one is for Dr. Epps, Dr. Robinson, and Nurse Meady. Heart attack symptoms in men versus women, and why people of color are more affected by heart disease than others. Several people are asking about this. And again, it goes back, is it harder to detect heart disease in men versus women, or easier? Let's start with Dr. Epps. Why is it people of color are more affected by heart disease?
So, I think that people of color, particularly African-American women, have the highest risk of any demographic group of heart disease. And we know that followed by that, it's African-American men. And I think part of that is risk factors. So we know that African-Americans have higher rates of hypertension. African-American women have higher rates of diabetes than Caucasian women. We have higher rates, unfortunately, of overweight and obesity. And the risk factors, there's something called a multiplier effect. So having 3 risk factors doesn't mean that your risk of heart disease is 3 times higher. It's 10 times higher when you have multiple risk factors. So we have this clustering of risk factors in our community, which certainly can place us at higher risk. I think there's also the awareness issue, and there are gaps in awareness, and that may make us less proactive about potential signs or symptoms, and then also about risk factor management. I think the conversation we're having right now about blood pressure is so important. The number of women that I see who have high blood pressure, and for them, the alarm signals have not been raised, and they may say that they've seen their primary care doctors and I've been told it's high, and they've been told it's high for years, but they're not on medications. And I think that making sure that we take charge of our own health, and that if someone says your blood pressure is high, at one visit, you may not see them for another year, that it's important to continue to monitor that at home. And if that doesn't change, that's addressed quickly.
Dr. Epps, you went down that list of, how Black women are affected by diabetes, hypertension, obesity, on and on and on, economic factors. Is it a fair assessment to say that African-American women are the sickest citizens in the country? Anybody want to tackle that, Dr. Epps?
So I would say from a cardiovascular perspective, we are at highest risk. And I think that's important. I think in terms of sickness, there may be there may be other diseases that are less prevalent in African-American women, but specifically as it relates to cardiovascular disease, I would say yes.
No, it's a sad statistic to say that we're the sickest citizens in the country. We have another question dealing with diabetes and heart disease for Dr. Robinson or Dr. Bruner. Is it possible to get off medication if you make those total lifestyle changes? Meady's blood pressure is coming down. She may be able to do that, but is it possible? Can she keep?
Yes.
Fingers crossed. Dr. Bruner, you want to start?
Yes, I absolutely, it's possible. I never like to promise everything that it always will be so, but when you're doing all the right things, you continue to modify your food intake, continue to be physically active, continue to lose just a little bit of weight, that I've seen diabetes reversed so many times in terms of controlling the blood sugars when the people do those things. Now, the caveat is, if they stop doing those things and go back to the way they were eating or doing or resuming those habits, all bets are off. It will come back again.
The extreme would be someone you've seen with bariatric surgery, right? You see people that have had a ton of blood pressure medications on insulin, and then they lose 30, 40, 50 pounds, and now they're passing out because they're hypoglycemic, or their blood sugars are on the lower end, or their blood pressure is on the lower end. So that's the extreme of weight loss, when someone's had actually gastric bypass or the gastric sleeve.
This next question is for Dr. Lomas and Dr. Holmes. A mental health and skin health question from a young Black man. Dealing with the stress of living with my parents after being on my own while I came home due to COVID. Missing my friends and interaction. This is the time I thought would be living my best life and trying to see how I manage all these emotions. And I want to manage my breakouts and need a healthy skincare regimen. Let's start with Dr. Lomas about coming back home and living with your parents. You know, my rules or no rules whatsoever.
Yeah, my heart goes out to you, sweetheart. That is tough. But just so that you know, it's tough on your parents too. So just know that, you know, what I would say is I get it. And so you do have to follow the rules in your parents' house, but you're a young adult. One of the things that young adults forget is that you have to step into a little bit of your power. I mean, make it easy for yourself because you are living there. But I'm going to encourage you to have conversations with your parents. Let them know what you're thinking, what you want, how you want to live, and see if you can find a compromise. Find your voice and use it. That's one of the biggest hurdles and challenges of young adults as they grow into being older adults. You have to reteach your parents how to interact with you and how to now parent you as an adult because they're used to you being a kid. So that's going to be my strong encouragement. You're going to be nervous. It's going to be hard. Take baby steps and just continue to talk to your parents and try to be as transparent as you can.
And right now, Dr. Holmes, the stress is showing on his face. What can he do as far as getting rid of the acne and the bumps on his face?
There's some very good over-the-counter acne medicines. They usually contain benzoyl peroxide or salicylic acid. And if those are not working well for him, he could always schedule an appointment with a dermatologist. I think another thing that, you know, we are seeing people who are having breakouts from wearing masks frequently. So it's important that you change your masks every day, you wash them or use disposable ones because those can also contribute to breakouts. We also see people who have mild allergic reactions to wearing the mask as well. So if you think that you do have an allergic reaction, you can try an over-the-counter cortisone cream, which will be very helpful. And also, you know, this COVID situation is something that's beyond our control. And I think we should calm down about it. We have to deal with it in an everyday situation. All of us are dealing with the same. So being stressed because of your situation or whatever it's not helping the situation get any better. So we just have to be mindful, you know, be calm and just take it day by day.
This is a question for Dr. Robinson, and it's stress in a different manner after a heart attack, pleasing your spouse or other heart-related issues. Things change. What can you help that person with?
Well, I don't know if I can help them a lot with that one, but no, I'll try my best. I think it's there's no contraindication for being intimate, of course, and you know, certainly Dr. Lomas will be able to talk about some of the social issues that can have a negative impact if you don't have some kind of intimacy in your relationship. So there's no contraindication after a heart attack for being intimate. You may want to wait till you recover. Actually, in the past, it's probably 30 years ago, we would probably tell people not to do much of anything after a heart attack. But now we want to get them immediately into cardiac rehab and to actually start exercising and being active to help with their recovery.
And Andrea,
Yes, me.
I was going to say, just to add to that, as a former cardiac ICU nurse, Dr. Robinson is 100% correct. We actually had to educate our patients to know that when they can be intimate. So there is a variation if you're having a heart attack versus open heart surgery, where your sternum is there, you know, cut open. So then you also have a bone issue as well that needs to mend and heal. And so most of the times, what we were told in the past, after you've had open heart surgery, you know, 6 weeks, maybe 2 months or so, and then after you had your follow-up appointment with your cardiovascular surgeon and or your cardiologist, then you can be cleared, if you will, once they've made sure you have begun your cardiac rehab process, and then you can go ahead and resume those intimate actions. But people should not be afraid of that.
I'd like to add,
with broken bones. So traditional heart attack without open heart surgery, that's the difference.
All right.
I'd like to add, life events change us, whether it's COVID or a heart issue. And this concept of going back to the way things were, it's a fallacy. And it's just like the phrase that people are talking about, the new normal. I hate that phrase because we're creating, you're changing. Every time some life event happens to you, you change. And so I'm going to say lean into the evolution and try some new things and take it slow and recognize that your intimacy can be greater than it ever was. Be creative and listen to your partner. And again, the open communication is key.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're almost running out of time for our Q&A with the audience, but one final question. What foods, vitamins, mineral supplements can help prevent you from getting heart disease and help control your weight? Dr. Bruner, let's start with you.
Sorry, I'll give you my favorites. They're multiple, but I think omega-3 fatty acids are very, very important. They're natural anti-inflammatories, have shown to decrease triglycerides, have been cardioprotective. So that's one and it also has been shown to have some efficacy in terms of helping mitigate COVID, the penetration of the what they call the spike protein in the cells. The second one is magnesium. Magnesium is a really, really important mineral. It's involved in over 300 processes, enzymatic processes in the body, helps muscle contraction. And what's your most important muscle? Your heart. Okay. I think also too, I like vitamin D. We as people who have melanin in our skin are generally deficient in vitamin D. Low vitamin Ds have been associated with heart attacks, maybe strokes, peripheral arterial disease. So again, and that is also a natural anti-inflammatory, a COVID fighter. I'll say vitamin C, antioxidant, very important. Those are kind of my top four. Coenzyme Q10, I forgot that. Lots of people are on statins, and statins block the production of coenzyme Q10 that your mitochondria make, the cells that make energy in the body make. So I think that's also a very important nutrient.
All right, Dr. Robinson, you had your hand up, and we also have this question from Eugenia Gardner about the disease runs in her family. What can she do to avoid the heart disease, get off the blood pressure medication?
I wanted to address the first one right quickly. And as Michelle mentioned earlier, TLC, total lifestyle change. There is no one pill. Mm-hmm. There's no one supplement. There's no one exercise program. And even when you look at, quote, integrative medicine, it's integrative because there are medicine. Anything that you put in your body is a medicine. And you need to really take anyone to task. So if you're putting omega-3, you want to make sure you're taking the right omega-3. Mm-hmm. Not all omega-3s are the same. It could be 1,000 milligrams of fish oil, but you turn the bottle over and it only has 30 milligrams of the active ingredient. So you may have to take 5 pills a day to equal the amount of omega-3 or flaxseed or any of the other things, but just being aware that there's no quick fix. Dr. Bruno mentioned a lot of natural supplements that have been shown to be beneficial. So just do your due diligence and make sure you know where you're getting the supplements from. The second question was, how can you prevent further damage or get off medication? Everyone's individual. That's why there's so many different medications that are out there. There's not one particular mechanism that causes hypertension. So keep doing the things that you're doing. And the thing I like to say is, if you weren't doing those things, imagine how much the blood pressure would have been outside of that. So those are some of the things I would recommend.
We have another question. How can talk about the relationship between high cholesterol and heart disease? How can you lower cholesterol when it's not related to food, but because of heredity or hyperthyroid? Dr. Robinson or Dr. Epps?
So the relationship between high cholesterol and heart disease. So when we talk about heart disease, particularly coronary heart disease, so plaque or cholesterol buildup in the arteries, or it could be stroke, plaque buildup could be in some of the other arteries in the carotid arteries or some of the arteries in the brain. That's generally plaque that's made of cholesterol. So we know there's an association between high levels of cholesterol in the blood and higher levels of plaque in the body, in the vessels. And so that's why it's so important to make sure that your cholesterol levels are well controlled. We know that about a large percentage of cardiovascular disease is genetic, and there are some patients who we feel like, even though they have a very healthy diet, that their blood cholesterol levels still remain high. And it's important to know about family history, because sometimes that runs in families, and there may be certain types of medications that we recommend in addition to diet that may be helpful in getting blood cholesterol levels down. And if blood cholesterol levels are high due to other risk, other comorbidities like thyroid disease, then it may be treating the thyroid disease, which may help in turn lower blood cholesterol.
We are running out of time. I do want to go to the round robin and get you all to give us one succinct piece of advice or information that can help us take charge of our heart health. And let's start with Midi.
I encourage everyone to be well, to live, to listen to your body, to make sure you have diet and exercise always at the forefront of your mind, and make sure you're not negating seeing your healthcare providers during this COVID season, because cancer, heart disease, kidney disease is still out there. So please don't die out of doubt, as Dr. Robinson said earlier. Make sure you're seen.
Dr. Lowen?
Good mental health equals good physical health. I think one of the reasons African American women are the sickest is because we're not taking care of our mental and emotional health. We have to take the S off our chest, which means get rid of the stigma. We are not super women. Do the best you can. Call a therapist if you need somebody to talk to. There is no shame in that. Good mental health equals good physical health.
Latia, talk to the young people, the young women who think that heart disease is not an issue they have to deal with. One piece of advice for them.
A piece of advice would be to share information about what's going on with your bodies, with your friends, your families, your doctors. Recognize symptoms and signs. Educate yourself so that you're aware of your body and that we can beat cardiovascular disease.
Dr. Holmes, the beauty of equity in our melanin-rich skincare. One piece of advice.
I think it's important that we know the differences, and we are aware of them, and we need to share the differences and make other folks aware of them. It's very important that they understand our skin and know that our skin is special and it's beautiful, but sometimes things do not look the same.
Dr. Bruner, obesity. What can we do to prevent, to treat, to keep our bodies healthy?
I think we have to be proactive in our approach to our lives, because we have to be an advocate for our own health. If we don't get help with our primary care physician or a healthcare provider, you go seek help. I belong to a group of obesity medicine specialists who are trained in that discipline to help you. So as my father told me years ago, this is not a dress rehearsal.
All right, thank you. Dr. Epps.
I would like to say that I think this is an empowering message that 80% of cardiovascular disease is preventable.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that starts with what we do every day at home, in our lives, with our families. And that really does mean that we have the power to try to prevent these things from developing. I think it's great to have a relationship with your doctor. And certainly it's important to partner with doctors, but so much of it is on us and what we do at home.
Absolutely. And Dr. Robinson concluded for us.
I would say be your own best advocate. And the analogy I always like to use is be your own Bentley or your Rolls Royce. So when I ask patients what kind of gas they put in their car, would they put diesel in their car, and they would fuss with me like, why would I do that? It would ruin my car. And then I would ask them, how many people take the time to think about what goes in their body? And that catches them.
Mm-hmm.
So think of your body like your Bentley.
All right, I'll think of that. Dr. Holmes, you want one more chance at it?
Yes, I want to encourage people to fill out the petition at melabeautiful.com.
Absolutely, definitely. I was going to remind them of that, but I'm glad you did it as well. You're an amazing panel. I thank you very much for being here with us. Audience, you had some great questions, and I hope you learned a lot from our session. So please give our panelists another virtual round of applause. We have much to think about and to share with others about heart health, skin health, and TLC. Thank you very much. Now, more prizes. Remember I said the gifts keep getting better and better. We have grand prize winners to announce. And are you ready? We have a grand prize worth $1,500. It goes to Kathy Muhammad from Clinton, Maryland. Kathy, you are the grand prize winner from our registration contest, where your question was randomly selected to be asked tonight. We thank you and enjoy these great prizes. Here's the list. Melanin full skincare line for women of color from our Platinum Plus sponsor. Visa gift card worth $150. African American award-winning Vintner Theophilus wine, heart healthy red wine. Cultura Skin and Laser Center care package worth $150. Cultura Skin and Laser Center cool sculpting session worth $750. Joy Reid autographed copy of her book, The Man Who Sold America, and The Heart of a Panther, autographed by our panelist, Latia Thomas. African American Music Museum, which just recently opened in Music City, Nashville, has provided great merchandise as well. Thank you and congratulations, Kathy. Nancy Gaskins, Hyattsville, Maryland. Hi, Nancy. Good to see you. You are the winner of a grand prize from our registration contest, where your question was randomly selected to be asked tonight. Thank you and enjoy these prizes. They are terrific. Melanin full skincare line for women of color from our Platinum Plus sponsor. Gift card worth $150. Legs Wine Company by Soul of Sonoma. Cultura Skin and Laser Center Spa Treatment worth $200. Cultura Skin and Laser Center School Sculpting Session worth $750. And Club Pilates classes at Tenleytown, 2 free classes. The Heart of a Panther, an autographed book by Latia Howard. And Forever Treasure Boutique fabulous swing case. This was worth almost $2,000, I believe. You have been an amazing audience. There are more prizes to be had. Red Dress doesn't stop here. We have Go Red and Get Fit with fitness guru Tasha Ware, former Alvin Ailey and Dance Theater of Harlem dancer. That's tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And platinum sponsor Monarch Magazine presents amazing celebrity chef Cynthia Payan, who is the chef for clients like actor Will Smith. She's hosting a virtual cooking session at 1 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. Check the live chat for all of the details. And I know by now, given all you've heard tonight about the need to drive changes in educating skin practitioners about how to treat melanin-rich skin, that you have all signed the Melanin petition. If you have not, as Dr. Holmes reminded us, go to melabeautiful.com. There's a link in our chat room. Again, you have been such an amazing audience. It's been a pleasure being with you. And now we want to welcome Mary E. Clark. She is the National Heart Links Chair and the National Walk for Healthy Living Chair for the Links Incorporated, and a member of the Reston, Virginia Links chapter. Link Mary.
Thank you, Andrea, for that kind introduction. This has been another engaging and informative event about the seriousness of heart disease and, most importantly, what you can do to protect your heart. According to Dr. David Goff, Director of Cardiovascular Sciences at the National Heart Lung Blood Institute at NIH, studies show self-care routines such as walking, moving more, eating healthier meals, and not cheating on sleep help us keep our blood pressure in the healthy range and reduce our risk of heart disease and stroke. This is why the Links Incorporated will continue to focus on self-care with an emphasis on physical activity and healthy eating during American Heart Month and beyond. On February 18th, in celebration of Heart Month, the Lynx Incorporated will host a Facebook Live featuring an exercise demonstration and a cooking demonstration. Please join us for this free, fun event at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the Lynx Incorporated Facebook page. And now I have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Nicolette Martin, Director of Health and Human Services Facet, the Lynx Incorporated. She is a certified nutrition counselor and the author of the book, Love What You Eat, Choosing Foods That Will Help Change Your Life. Dr. Martin.
Thank you so much, Mary. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for participating with us this evening. This was our first virtual Red Dress event, and it was fabulous. We had 1,000 participants, which is twice as many as we've had in the past. At this time, I'd like to thank all of our sponsors and our vendors. I'd like to thank our committee members, especially our speakers who gave us incredible information. And last but not least, I would like to thank our event chair, Link Michelle Bailey, for all her hard work. At this point, we'd like you to take the information that you learned, use it on yourself, pass it on to friends and family, and hopefully save a life. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you again next year. Good night.